And hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Back with the Wandering Mariner. It is Sunday night. Happy Easter. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of videos and just doing content creation lately and getting to a lot of people's questions. So tonight we're going to do a little bit of Q&A, just your guys' questions. And actually, it's one subscriber's questions because he's been shotgunning me with questions all day long. So I figured I might as well just do one video dedicated all to this subscriber. So Spike Spiegel 1969 asks, first he says, thank you for the videos and I appreciate you being here. What is the pace of military Sea Lift Command deployments / missions? Okay. There is no pace of deployments. So if you think about military Sea Lift Command, think about it as if you had a fleet of taxis and you want to keep all the taxis out there making money and working as much as possible. But there is prescribed maintenance that you have to do with those taxis. So the taxis are going to be brought into the shop in a cycle to kind of do the maintenance. But every once in a while, one of the taxis are going to break down or have a problem that they weren't planning on having. So that kind of messes up the rotation. So there is no kind of rhyme or reason. They have a planned cycle of what ship's going to get maintenance next and kind of the thing. But quite often things happen where ships need repair ahead of time. So they kind of just prioritize and bring the next one in and move things around. So as far as a deployment, there is no set number, like months. Like some ships leave and they're gone for 5 years. They're traveling around the world and they're constantly working. So your next question is it like 3 consecutive months at sea on a ship, then 1 month off ashore until the next mission? Or is it 1 month at sea and for one mission, then go back to shore for a few days and then back and forth, back and forth? All right, so this is pretty much how it rolls. Every mariner that gets assigned to a ship pretty much says, I'm going to do 120 days or 4 months on that ship. Now, does that mean you can only do 120 days? No. Very often, a lot of mariners will stay on a ship for 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes guys never leave. I was with a gentleman who was on the same ship for 7 years. So did he ever get off the ship? Well, the ship has to go and load cargo. The ship has to do maintenance. The ship has all these other things to do. So he would take vacations here and there when the ship didn't need him there or the ship was in port and he had time to put in for some time off. But for the most part, 4 months. And then you typically could take 2 to 4 weeks of vacation time after you complete that 4 months, based on how much vacation time you have. Most try to take a whole 30 days. And within that 30 days, you're also guaranteed time to take care of other things. So if you have to go to the doctor or the dentist or get a checkup or just things that arise that you need time off for, you'll be able to extend that time, provided you have vacation time saved. So I guess here you're trying to figure out whether you want to keep an apartment or whether you should stay in hotels in between missions, or whether you should buy a mobile home and stay at a park near a Navy base. What do most guys do when they're home that don't have families or kids or anything to worry about? So every day that you work for Military Sea Lift Command, you are guaranteed 3 hots and a cot, right? So you're going to have meals and you're going to have a place to sleep. Now, if for some reason that ship no longer needs you on board and you get paid off, you have an option. You could take vacation and take your time off and go, or you can go back to MSC and contact them and say, I need another ship assigned. And they will either put you in a hotel waiting for that next ship with training or whatnot, or they're going to send you right to your next ship right away. So you just kind of work it out with your detailers along the way. But as far as MSC, like when you're on vacation, when you're using your vacation time, it's on you. And like, they don't care where you live. You could live in a van down by the river. I've seen guys that live in the jungles of Thailand. I've seen people that live all over the world. And they take their vacation time and go do their thing. Some go fishing in Canada for a month. Everybody kind of plans their vacation time to do whatever they want to do and go where they want to go. Should you keep an apartment? Should you keep a place to live? I don't think you should look at giving it up until you at least have gone through all the implementation of getting everything done, get hired, and get a date scheduled to start your training. And even with that, I would say wait until you complete your training before you give up an apartment or give up a place to live. Just because you might get into this and you might say, this isn't for me. And if all your stuff, if you sold everything you own and you're like, I'm just going to live the mariner life and go, it might be a stumbling block. It might be a mistake. And that happens in life, but it's not the end of the world. You just keep rolling. So the next question, same subscriber, Spike Skeagle says, sorry for the second question. And you know what? You're only allowed one question a day, but for my subscribers, I'll let you guys ask as many as you want. All right. Says, so MSC, do you get paid your base pay or base salary plus bonuses if you sail into combat zones, ? But it is a steady paycheck without much variance. Compare that to being a merchant mariner with an MSC cargo ship, or maybe in a union hall where everything's kind of up in the air. So yes. All right. So when you get hired by MSC, you become a federal employee. You work for the U.S. government. You're not a contract worker working for a ship or a company. You work for the United States government, the Department of Defense. That's the umbrella that you work under. So you are a federal employee. You are on annual salary, which that'll be in the job description, job card. And that'll get broke up by all the working days of the year and how much your salary is. So whether you work or not, every day for overtime and whatnot, that's your set 40 hours a week income. Note how I said 40 hours a week. If you work overtime, which you're on a ship, and if that ship's in the ocean, why would you not work on weekends? Why would you not do that? So your salary goes up based on when you're working. So you'll have opportunities to work when you're at sea. And even when the ship's in port, depending on the job field you're going into, there is lots of opportunities for overtime. And you will make more than that base salary guaranteed. Like whether you want to or not. Because sometimes they have a thing called mandatory overtime. When work needs to get done, there is no, I don't want to work today. It's, come on, let's go. Let's get the job done. So, let's see. Yes. And and the flip side of that is if you do go into a union job, when you work for the union, you're signing a contract just to sign on to a ship. And then once you're done with that contract, you're done. You're a free person. You go do whatever you want to do. Not with Military Sea Lift Command. You're a federal employee. They're going to say, all right, you have this much time saved for vacation, but it's time to come back to work now. We need you back on the ship. And that happens quite often. And that's kind of one of the Achilles heel, or one of the problems with MSC is it could be, especially when you first get started, there's not a lot of vacation time. There's not a lot of time off. You could end up on a ship that's in the thick of it going somewhere, and you might be busy. And one other thing you had mentioned earlier, too, I want to kind of talk about. You mentioned combat zones. So the United States isn't at war with anybody right now, although we might be politically out there. We are not at war with anyone right now, so there are no combat zones. There are areas of the world that are a little bit more dangerous than others. But, wherever MSC is, you're servicing the United States Navy. So typically where we're at, The Navy's close by. So there's not a lot to worry about there, at least in my mind. And the last question, and this is your third question of the day, so you've kind of tapped out. For the MSC, is it bi-weekly paychecks or is it every 3 or 4 months after you get deployed? So you get paid every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you can count on that money going direct deposit right into your bank account. Unless the U.S. government shuts down because you're a government employee. And that has happened in the past. And at that time, they'll say, well, we're just going to keep working. We write down all of our overtime and we'll get compensated later. And that's the way it always works. So you got to have faith in the government if you're going to work for Military Sealift Command. So hopefully I answered your questions tonight. And, if you guys have any other questions, make sure you leave them below. I have been really diving in. Yesterday, I was getting my sea service documents together, and I realized that I was missing one of my sea service credit letters, which, if you guys get into this gig, your documents and your paperwork are paramount. You have to keep track of everything. So I had to reach out to the company and say, hey, could you give me my documented sea credit for this time so I can send it in to the Coast Guard to renew my documents. So that's where we're at with that. But hopefully you guys get some value out of this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll hit you on the next one. Have a great night, guys.